Let's go to one of the verses I get a lot to refute my claim, or the Bible's claim, that strangers, Gar 16:16, are non-Israelites. Let's go to Leviticus 25 and 35. I get this one a lot. I see it a lot in all the videos. And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. So, for starters, we have to say we see three groups of people. For one, the audience is an Israelite. But then you have the brother of an Israelite, and if thy brother, you have stranger, H16:16, and sojourner. So let's make sure we have that. Stranger, H16:16, Gar. All right. Now, one West doctrine teaches that the text is calling the brother a stranger. Okay. So, and they say that, I don't know why, but let's look at the Hebrew. You see that brackets, yea, though he be? So that was added by the translators, right? So let's read the text without that. And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Like all the other texts that in part one, in this video thus far, that it's a list of people: born in the land, stranger; homeborn, stranger. And we even see that in the New Testament where it says salvation is to the Jew first and then the Greek. Ethnic Israel has preeminence. They're always listed first. But in this scenario, you got to treat your brother, you got to relieve the stranger and the sojourner the same way you will relieve a brother. That is what this is saying, right? And if stranger, Gar 8:16:16, is a non-Israelite, by default that makes a sojourner a non-Israelite. Now that's new. Now, when has a sojourner ever been? That makes a sojourner an Israelite, because if the stranger is an Israelite, just not born in the land, the sojourner is an Israelite, not born in the land. So all this is talking about Israel, right? That's inaccurate. It's just a list. You relieve the stranger and sojourner just like you would your brother. Who is an Israelite's brother? Actually, let's go to that. A little pause for the cause. Oh, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. Oh, wow, that's right in Torah. That's a commandment. Thus saith the Lord. But I digress. Let's go back. Let's go back to Leviticus 25. Right? 25 and 35. And if thy brother be waxing poor and falling in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. So again, clearly this is not calling the ethnic Israelite a stranger. It's again a listing of the brother, stranger, and a sojourner. There's nothing wrong with calling an Israelite. There's nothing wrong with an Israelite calling a non-ethnic Israelite a brother. There's scripture where people that are unrelated call the other brother. As I just mentioned in Deuteronomy 23:7, Edom is our brother. The Lord calls him our brother, right? So, and then we have Genesis 19:7. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after him and said, I pray ye, brethren, do not so wickedly. So Lot is calling the people, the men of Sodom and Gomorrah, brethren, right? So again, that whole breakdown of this is actually the brother is calling the brother a stranger. It's totally false, right? And we know this actually because if we keep going, verse 47, it's the same setup. And if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. So the question you have to ask yourself is, why didn't it say, and if thy brother, who is a sojourner or a stranger, wax rich? Because that's not how it's supposed to be read in verse 35. And if thy brother be waxing poor and fall into decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, stranger or sojourner, that he may live with thee. And if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family. You see how that reads the same? Because it's three different groups of people. Let's click on it. Let's make sure. So this time the English word is sojourner for H16. And again, that's why I said you can't just search up stranger in the blue letter and go off all that. You have to search up H1616 in the blue letter, right? Because then it switches back over down here. Now stranger is back to H1616, right? So you can't go off the English words, right? So now, let me go back. Now, if we look at this, so obviously that proves that point, that verse 35 is not calling the brother a stranger, right? Because one Westerners like to use that verse. Look, the brother is called a stranger. So when the Israelites are called strangers, no, that's false. Because 47 nullifies that, because it's the same setup, the same dichotomy, and it reads plain. It reads more simple. It's actually understandable, right? Now, what drops this point home is the fact that the brother, right, mentioned in 47 right here, can sell himself to the stock of the stranger's family, H1616, not the sojourner, right? So let's confirm this. And if that was rich, sojourner, stranger by thee, wax poor, the brother can sell himself unto the stranger, H1616, or sojourner, H8453 by thee, or the stock of the family of the strangers. You see that? The stock of the family of the strangers, right? So let's read it. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brethren that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brother may redeem him. Now, this is the nail in the coffin. What does that word stock mean? Let's go to it. H6133, right? Member, offspring, offshoot. Now let's go to the Strongs. Figuratively, a transplanted person, so a person coming from another country to a new country, i.e. a naturalized citizen. Now, naturalized citizenship is given to people born outside of a particular country, and they want to join another country. Again, this confirms everything that I've been saying, that a GAR H1616 is a non-ethnic Israelite that are joining themselves to Israel and are following the laws, statutes, and commandments, right? But this is the nail in the coffin. Let's go to the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. Let's see what that says, right? Metaphorically, use of a man of a foreign race who had settled in the Holy Land. Wow. Used of a man of a foreign race, non-Israelite, who had settled in the Holy Land, who lives in Israel. Right? But when we use the context of all the time that this is used, a stranger that is used, they follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. And that's why the ethnic Israelite can only sell himself to the stock of a stranger, H1616, because the Gar, that stranger, are non-ethnic Israelites that enjoin themselves to Israel and follow the law, statutes, and commandments. So they're not going to sell themselves to a heathen that doesn't follow the law, statutes, and commandments. They're going to sell themselves to a stranger that follows that. And then the brother may redeem him from that stranger. Right? So that's the breakdown for Leviticus 25. So no longer can one Westerners go to the scripture and say, oh, the brother here is being called a stranger. No, it's a list. 47 confirms this because it's the same dichotomy right here. And then if you go and look into the stock, that nails it. It's a foreigner who lives in the Holy Land. So that's pretty much it for part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. We'll be going into, more of the strangers. Eventually, we'll get to salvation and what the biblical definition of salvation is. And but thus far, it's clear and concise that non-ethnic Israelites can join themselves to Israel and partake in the law, statutes, and commandments, right? And that's why when we quote, I said people, when we quote Psalms, what is that, 147? And it says only the judgments and commandments been given to Israel. That's facts. That is true. But if somebody but if a non-ethnic Israelite enjoined themselves to Israel, now those laws and commandments and judgments have been given to them as well. All right. Y'all be blessed. Stay tuned for part 3.